Katherine is thought to have been born in 1523. She was born into the powerful Howard family, and she was actually related to Henry's second queen, Anne Boleyn, and his third queen, Jane Seymour. Although Katherine came from a great family, her father was not rich, and she certainly had no money of her own. Her mother died when she was still a young child, and she was sent to live with her step-grandmother, Agnes Howard, the Duchess of Norfolk. Agnes had large properties and therefore took in many children from poor aristocratic families. It seems Katherine became familiar with men at a young age while living in the home of the Duchess. She shared a bedroom with other girls in the house, and men were invited to the room. It seems Katherine and the other children who lived there were possibly neglected and unsupervised, as the Duchess didn't seem to have much interest in them. Therefore, Katherine likely went wild, and she was exposed to much at a young age. It's hard to compare the life of a Tudor girl to the life of a young girl today. But I do feel a bit sorry for Katherine, and feel like she kind of lost her innocence a bit too soon. Two relationships with men from this time in her life would later come under huge scrutiny when she became queen. The first was with Henry Manox, who was her music teacher. It's not known for sure how old Manox was, which makes it hard to get a clear picture of the situation. It's been suggested he was quite a bit older and possibly preyed on the young girl, who was not likely much older than 15. The second man was Francis Derham, and he was working as a secretary for the Duchess. Again, his age is not known for sure, but it's thought he was about 10 years older than Katherine. Because of her family's powerful position, she was brought to court to be a lady-in-waiting to Henry's fourth queen, Anne of Cleves. And this would have been the first time that Henry noticed Katherine. And with his marriage to Anne going so badly, the family of Katherine saw an opportunity to bring glory, influence, and high positions by encouraging the relationship between Katherine and Henry. And it worked, at least while things were good between them. It's highly likely that Katherine and Henry had a physical relationship even while he was still married to Anne, who in time was sent away from court, and then Henry, who was 49, married the teenage Katherine Howard. Henry was besotted with her and gave her many expensive gifts. He was also hoping that through her he would get more sons. Unfortunately for her, it seems she wasn't very popular at court. It was felt she was not very smart, giggly, immature, and only interested in fashionable clothes and dancing. Well, considering her age, it's not surprising she was a bit immature. She was, after all, a teenager. But I believe she must have been smarter than some said. I mean, she managed, for a time, to play the part of a wife and queen and convince Henry that she loved him. In marrying Henry, she also became stepmom to his 3 children. She was in fact younger than his first daughter Mary. It seems the two women were certainly not friends, although they were polite to each other. It does seem she had a better relationship with Henry's younger children, Elizabeth and Edward. When Katherine became queen, many hoped to benefit from her rise, including her former lover Francis Derham. He foolishly asked Katherine for employment, and possibly out of fear for what he could say if not given the position, Katherine made him her secretary. At some point, the Queen started a relationship with Thomas Culpeper, who was one of the King's gentlemen, and another man older than her, possibly by about 10 years. It seems they had a flirtation even while she was lady to the former Queen, which I guess was harmless enough. But it seems they became a lot closer after her marriage to Henry. It's thought in 1541 they started to meet privately, and they did this with the help of Katherine's chief lady-in-waiting, Lady Rochford, who would keep watch for them. They started to develop feelings, and incriminating letters were written to each other. Katherine's behaviour was being questioned more and more. And then when you have Francis Derham talking foolishly and openly about his relationship with Katherine, suspicions were raised. It was suggested she had a pre-marriage contract with Derham and they had had sexual relations. An investigation began and Katherine was arrested at Hampton Court. It's thought she made a desperate dash down what is now known as the Haunted Gallery to try and reach Henry and presumably beg his forgiveness. Now, palace geography possibly suggests this story is untrue. However, it's said her ghost still haunts the corridor. Fun fact, well, at least fun if you're not scared of ghosts, Katherine isn't the only former wife of Henry that is said to haunt Hampton Court. It's said that his third queen, Jane Seymour, has been seen on a staircase close to where she gave birth to Edward. In interviews, Katherine frantically denied she had any pre-marriage contract, but under further investigation, the truth about her relationships with Derham, Manox, and now Culpeper started to emerge. The letters between the Queen and Culpeper were discovered, putting Katherine in a hopeless position. Her family, who had happily benefited from her high position, abandoned her. It was ruled that it was treason for a queen not to reveal her sexual history to the king. With this and her adulterous relationship with Culpeper being exposed, she was sentenced to death. She would have been taken to the Tower, and on the journey it's thought she would have seen the heads of Culpeper and Derham, who had both already been executed and had their heads placed on spikes on London Bridge. On the 13th of February 1542, the still teenage Katherine was executed on Tower Green, just like her cousin Anne Boleyn had been done 6 years before. Katherine's execution had a lot less respect than Anne Boleyn's. There was no French executioner especially brought in to do the job, and no nice velvets and cushions. It has been suggested that in a final act of cruel revenge, Henry ordered quicklime to be poured into Katherine's grave. The reason for doing this would be that it would destroy her body. The belief at the time was that when a person died, they needed their body on the day of judgment. Therefore, even after her death, Henry is really screwing with Katherine. Katherine's short life was certainly extraordinary. She made some terrible decisions, but what on earth did a man who was almost 50 expect from a teenage wife? It's really actually a very sad story, and if only her family and the people around supported her and shown her love, maybe she could have actually fulfilled this role, and then after Henry's death, go on to become a wealthy widow. Unfortunately though, she made foolish choices, and she paid the ultimate price.